Hello there, very good afternoon to you. Welcome to BBC News. Tensions within the Conservative Party will be reignited this afternoon when the bill to allow same-sex marriages in England and Wales is debated again by MPs. Some Tory activists have urged the Prime Minister to drop the policy, saying it's costing votes. One former Conservative minister will try to push through an amendment to the bill to give everyone a right to a civil partnership. In the last few minutes, Downing Street has said it would not drop the bill. The Prime Minister's spokesman saying that, quote, the government has a legislative programme, it is getting on with it. The Prime Minister's a big believer in marriage. That is why he believes gay people should be able to get married. That's the latest from Downing Street. Our political correspondent Vicky Young reports.
David Cameron says he wants marriage to be available to everyone, straight or gay. But his support for same-sex marriage has alienated some Conservative members who say the move is costing the party votes. This small group of Tory activists delivered a highly critical letter through the Prime Minister's door yesterday, accusing him of treating ordinary party members with contempt.
There is no mandate for it. It wasn't in any manifesto of any party. And the opinion within the Conservative Party and within the country is, as far as I can see, the majority is against.
But same-sex marriage has the support of many Tory MPs and activists. More than 100 have signed an open letter to Mr Cameron saying it's an important issue for younger voters and MPs risk appearing out of touch if they pander to a vocal minority.
The world has moved on, the country has moved on, attitudes to gay people are changing. And what we've said is, here's a bill which does allow gay people to marry, but it doesn't make it compulsory, and also it protects the churches, so no church can be forced to conduct a gay marriage. The Church of England is specifically exempted.
Today, Conservative MPs opposed to the bill will try to pass an amendment extending civil partnerships to heterosexual couples. But government sources say that would delay the bill by years and would be expensive for the taxpayer. Vicky Young, BBC News, Westminster.
Well, now several amendments have been tabled, but that one proposing to extend civil partnerships to heterosexual couples is the one the government's most worried about. Let's just have a quick look at the numbers involved. In February, the marriage bill was approved by a 225-vote majority, but 136 Conservatives, that's nearly half of all Tory MPs, voted against it. In comparison, 127 Tories voted in favour of the bill. Well, this time Labour could be set to join the dissenters. Despite backing gay marriage, Labour argues that the government has not made a convincing case against extending civil partnership. So let's go to our chief political correspondent, Norman Smith, who's at Westminster. Norman, first of all, just bring us up to date on what Downing Street have been saying about all of this today.
Well, Ben, all the smoke signals, all the briefings we're getting from within government underline the government's determination to press ahead with this legislation, with the number 10 spokesman saying the government has a legislative programme, it is getting on with it. More emphatic briefings from those around the Culture Secretary, Maria Miller, saying the government will not drop the legislation. But if this critical amendment looking to extend civil partnerships to heterosexuals is passed tonight, and it could be because we are still uncertain about how Labour and the Liberal Democrats will vote, if it is passed, then I'm being told the first gay marriage will not take place until after the next election. Now, that raises a question mark about the absolute certainty of this happening, because who knows what will happen at a general election and who knows what will happen afterwards. So just because the government has reaffirmed its determination to press ahead does not of itself mean that it's going to happen. They are going to make this an absolute certainty, because if this amendment is passed, there is an element of doubt because, as I say, of this time frame of the first gay marriage not taking place for some years. So what we've got is a clear indication, I think, from ministers that they are not going to be pushed off course. What we have not got is absolute cast iron, rock solid guarantee that if the bill is passed, it is definitely going to happen, because it wouldn't happen until after the next election.
So a lot of ifs and maybes about the amendment. I mean, is it possible to say how the numbers, the arithmetic is stacking up on this?
My sense is the Liberal Democrats and the Labour Party are absolutely pivotal in this, are playing their cards extraordinarily close to their chest. They're not willing to come out and say, yes, they'll vote for the amendment, no, they'll vote against it. Their problem is basically this. They are supportive of the bill, they do support gay marriage. However, they also support extending civil partnerships to heterosexuals. Their conundrum is trying to work out, if they support the bill, they support the amendment, rather, they scupper the bill. And that's what they're balancing at the moment. And we do not have clarity from them at the moment which way they're going to go.
Norman Smith, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. Well, Norman, there speaking about trying to get the clarity from what the Lib Dems and Labour are going to do. We can actually speak to the Liberal Democrat MP Stephen Williams, who joins us now from Westminster. So let's put that to you, Stephen Williams. I don't know if you were listening to Norman, but saying we're trying to find some clarity from what the Lib Dems are going to be doing. What are you going to be doing? How are you going to be voting?
Well, I'm in favour of same-sex marriage, so I want this bill to go through, and I want same-sex weddings to take place in Bristol and around the country as soon as possible, maybe later this year. So I certainly don't want to see the bill derailed. But I also think it would be illogical, once we've passed the bill, if gay couples have more choice than heterosexual couples, and that's what will happen if the bill isn't amended. So I think civil partnerships should be opened up to couples of both variety, just as we are opening up in this bill civil weddings and religious weddings for those who wish to provide them to opposite sex and same-sex couples.
So you'll be voting for the amendment then? I mean, will your colleagues on the Lib Dem...
When the government has said that there are difficulties with this amendment, the trouble is there's mixed motivations here. The Conservative MP who's putting forward the amendment on this occasion is implacably opposed to same-sex marriage. So he's on completely different grounds to me. He does see his amendment as a wrecking amendment. I don't want to vote for a wrecking amendment, but I do think this is an opportunity for the government to tidy up marriage legislation. We don't get this opportunity very often, but I'll be listening very carefully to what the Minister says in the Commons later today before I and my Lib Dem colleagues decide finally what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, one of your colleagues was saying, beware opponents bearing gifts.
Yeah, that was my colleague Lynn Featherstone, and of course she should be given a lot of the credit while she was the Equalities Minister in the Home Office for bringing forward this legislation in the first place. But there is opposition to extending civil partnerships to opposite-sex couples from the top of government. I'm not exactly clear why there is opposition to sort of closing that sort of circle of equality so that opposite-sex couples and same-sex couples have exactly the same opportunities and rights in civil law. But I will listen to what the government ministers have to say later today, and I certainly don't want to risk the bill proceeding, but the government really ought to have got their ducks in a row before tonight.
So you're going to take your time, you haven't made up your mind, and is that your sense that that's how your fellow MPs on the Lib Dem benches, and maybe some Labour MPs too, are thinking too, that they still haven't made up their minds?
Yes, I've certainly had plenty of discussions with my own Liberal Democrat colleagues, but also with Labour MPs who definitely want this bill to go through, but also think this is an opportunity to tidy up relationship law once and for all, so that opposite-sex couples aren't disadvantaged as a result of this going through. And the same could apply to, for instance, allowing humanists to conduct wedding ceremonies as well, which is another change I would like to see. There is still plenty of time. The bill has to go through all its Lord's procedures as well. So maybe the government could say tonight, we've listened carefully to what people who genuinely want to see an improvement in this bill have to say. We'll go away and think about it and come back with further amendments in the House of Lords, which then we can vote on later this year. That wouldn't derail the bill, and it would get marriage law and relationships law sorted out. And I think that's the opportunity that the government should take.
All right, Stephen Williams, thank you very much indeed. It's going to be an interesting day at Westminster. Thank you for being with us.